Live stream is posted and we're ready to begin.
Good morning. As chair of the commission, I call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to order at 9:06 a.m. This Zoom webinar is being live streamed to YouTube. For anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch via a different platform than they currently are using, please visit our social media at Redistricting Michigan to find the link for either viewing on YouTube. Our live stream today includes closed captioning. We have ASL interpretation available for this meeting. If you are a member of the public watching who would like easier viewing options for the ASL interpreter on your screen, please email us at redistricting@michigan.gov and we will provide you with additional viewing options. Similarly, members of the public who would like to access translation services during the webinar can email us at redistricting@michigan.gov for details on how to access language translation services available for this meeting. Closed caption and ASL Spanish and Arabic translation services will be provided for effective participation in this meeting. People with disabilities needing other specific accommodations should email reinhardts@michigan.gov. This meeting is being recorded and will be available at redistrictingmichigan.org for viewing at a later date. This meeting is also being transcribed and those transcriptions will be made available and posted on redistrictingmichigan.org along with written public comment submissions. Members of the media who may have questions before, during, or after the meeting should direct those questions to Edward Woods III, Communications and Outreach Director for the Commission at woodse3@michigan.gov. Members of the media should have the contact information. At this time, I'd like to ask that we have roll call. For the purposes of the public watching and public record, I will turn to Department of State staff to take note of the commissioners present.
Good morning, commissioners. When I call your name, please unmute yourself, indicate that you are present and the location that you are attending remotely from. Doug Clark.
Present, and I'm remotely attending the meeting from Rochester Hills, Michigan.
Juanita Curry.
Present, and I'm attending the meeting from Detroit, Michigan.
Anthony Eade.
Present, and I'm remotely attending from Detroit, Michigan.
Brittany Kellum.
Present and remotely attending from Detroit, Michigan.
Rhonda Lang.
Present, attending remotely from Reed City, Michigan.
Steve Lett.
Present and remotely attending from Grand Traverse County, Michigan.
Cynthia Orton.
Present, attending remotely from Battle Creek, Michigan.
MC Rothhorn.
Present, remotely attending from Lansing, Michigan.
Rebecca Zatella.
Present, remotely attending from Wayne County, Michigan.
Janice Villette.
Present, attending remotely from Highland, Michigan.
Erin Wagner.
Present, remotely attending from Charlotte, Michigan.
Richard Weiss.
Present and attending remotely from Saginaw, Michigan.
And Dustin Witches.
Present, and I am attending remotely from Ypsilanti, Michigan.
All commissioners are present. There is a quorum.
Thank you, Sally. Moving on to the adoption of the agenda. As a reminder to the public watching, you can see the agenda at redistrictingmichigan.org. If we've all had enough time looking at the agenda, are there any amendments or discussion regarding the agenda? Yes, Sue.
I just want to make the public and commissioners aware that I did send along another resolution immediately prior to the meeting. So check your email boxes, and that will be during discussion when Edward presents today.
Thank you, Sue, for bringing our attention to that. I would now entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Motion made by Steve Lett. Is there a second? Second by Dustin Widges. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Justin.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The agenda has been approved. Moving on to the review and approval of minutes. Are there any edits to the meeting minutes?
I
Hearing
move the
none.
adoption of the minutes.
Moved by Steve Lett, second. Seconded by Doug Clark.
Oh.
If you move to approve the minutes as presented, please signify with a raised hand. All those opposed? And the minutes are approved. And now we have our public comment. If there is any public comment for today, there are. That's what I suspect. So just as a reminder for those of us joining who might be joining the first time, because this is a virtual meeting, members of the public had to sign up in advance to address the commission. Staff at the Department of State will unmute each member of the public for up to 2 minutes on a first come, first served basis. This means members of the public will be called on in order in which they signed up to address the commission. To those members of the public participating in public comment, please note you will have no more than 2 minutes to address the commission this morning. You can also submit your thoughts to the commission and the public by emailing redistricting@michigan.gov. The Department of State will provide your written thoughts to the commission, as always, by indicating in that email that you would like to submit your written comment as public comment. It will be included in the online meeting archive for the commission. Public comment sign-up links are also posted on Redistricting Michigan's social media pages on Facebook and Twitter at Redistricting Michigan. Now I would like to recognize Sally Marsh, Michigan Department of State Director of Special Projects, who will call on members of the public to address the commission. Sally.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So individuals who have signed up and indicated that they would like to provide live public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. Just a few reminders on how this works from a technical perspective. After I call your name, your screen will change and you will rejoin the meeting as a presenter. Then you will need to turn your sound and video on before you make public comments to the commission. And if you experience technical issues, we will move on to the next person and try to come back to you. And if we still can't resolve those technical audio issues or otherwise, you can always email redistricting@michigan.gov. We will help you troubleshoot for a future meeting and of course, provide any comments that you have to the commission. So first in line to provide public comment is Jacquie Stewart. Please allow a moment for our staff to unmute you. You have 2 minutes.
Good morning. Can you hear me? My name is Jacquie Stewart, and I'm joining from East Lansing, where I live. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of the Lansing area, and so I thank you for this opportunity. I want to do 2 things today: introduce myself and congratulate you on your work. I'm sure there are many people watching your meetings, including other League of Women Voter members across the state. I've been watching for about 2 months. I report back to my local chapter, and because I do that, we thought I should introduce myself. Speaking for myself, I'm perturbed by the low percentage of people who are informed about the redistricting process and about your work. The data that you shared on April 15th was quite dismaying. As you know, the League of Women Voters Michigan and many other groups are working on this issue, and I do hope that your own outreach plan will make a difference. It's vital that citizens participate. I want to congratulate you on your courage, your grace, and the transparency with which you handle complex and potentially divisive issues. Anyone who spends any time watching gets a civics lesson in what participatory democracy looks like. So I hope that more people will watch and that many will attend your public hearings and town halls across Michigan, and that this begins to build trust in our government and respect for each other. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line to provide public comment is Donna Miller. Please allow a moment for our staff to unmute you.
Hello, can you see me? Hello, everyone.
Hello, you have 2
Hi.
minutes.
Thank you. Hi, this is Donna, and I want to just say good morning to everyone, and I thank you for hearing my comments this morning. There are 2 things I will briefly say. First, concerning communities of interest, I know in many communities, there may be a small percentage of persons of color. I want the commission to be aware of when thinking about communities of color, to please know that when a person of color is in a community, they are part of that community. I know that there is a concern about how to focus on a small percentage of persons of color. Just remember, we are part of the community that we live in. And I'm afraid of isolation as protection. I live in Taylor, Michigan, along with a small percentage of persons of color, and we are a part of the community. And my second thought is a request. Please post the meeting locations and times on your website. And I thank you all for being here and listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission this morning. Our final participant in live public comment is Frederick Neinstedt. Please allow a moment for our staff to unmute you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, and if you want to turn your video on, you're welcome to. You've got 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Fred Neinstedt. This is my first opportunity to address the commission. And really, I work for a living. I'm off work today for other reasons, and I just don't have much time to talk about so much that you've already covered, I'm sure. But the process is extremely sophisticated in that when you're going to get your chance to start drawing the district boundaries, I don't know that the public's going to even see how this process lays out, how it happens. So it lends to me some sense of suspicion. And with so many people working for a living unable to participate in these call-ins, it leaves much of the community out of the process. So we start with a sophisticated gerrymandering based on politics, and we switch it with a sophisticated unknown selection process that puts boundaries on a map and controls our voting for the next 10 years. So in final thought, please consider as much as you can the governmental boundaries that are in place and ease the burden on the different clerks across our state. Thank you very much.
Thank you for addressing the commission, and that concludes public comment this morning.
Thank you, Sally, and thank you to all of you that came and shared your thoughts and ideas with us. We do take them seriously, and we actively listen to the concerns and suggestions made from the public. So again, thank you. Moving on to our executive director's report. If there's no other further comments or correspondence regarding our public comment, we have Sue Ann Hammersmith with our icebreaker.
I did send out 2 pieces of correspondence this week, and if commissioners want further information, they can let us know on those correspondence pieces. And I will go into then my executive director report for this morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Update on negotiations with consultants. These are ongoing with the VRA Council. Bruce Adelson has provided all the requested documents. Staff is finalizing the bidder evaluation document that will be posted with the notice of intent to award, and then the posting will be made. So the contract will be fully executed after 5 days of that posting. So that one is very close. I hope that happens within the next business day or two. We have one remaining issue to address with EDS. We met with them on Monday, agreed upon the scope, sent them the proposed language on Tuesday with a request for response. With the apportionment data coming out this week, Kim Brace said he would be very busy, so he has not yet responded. But as soon as he does, then staff will also prepare the bidder evaluation document, and that will be posted with a notice of intent. And again, the 5-day process where any bidder can protest, but assuming there are no protests, those will both be in effect within 5 days of those postings. The promotional consultant contracts for Southeast Michigan and then outstate are very close to being executed probably by the end of the week. And these allow for a streamlined process since both of these contracts are below the $50,000 mark. And then the venue contracts are also being negotiated with the 16 public hearing sites. So we've been busy contracting. On staffing, I think I reported that we had interviewed for the position, but we didn't really feel that we found the best fit. So we thought we would go in a different direction. And we're looking at people that we can add to help us probably more on a short-term basis versus the possibility of a long-term executive assistant. So we're going to continue to talk, and we'll see how that plays out, and we will certainly let the commission know when decisions are made. And regarding this also, you're going to receive an updated budget next week. I know a couple of commissioners reached out about the several resolutions and items on the agenda today. Almost all of that is already within the existing budget. There may be a small amount that would go outside of that. So we will give you an update next week. We have a better sense now of what we will pay to the vendors in this fiscal year during the next fiscal year. So I think we'll have a better handle on the numbers. And lastly, our icebreaker for the day is share something that you're excited about. And today I'm going to start with Commissioner Orton, please.
Well, I'm excited for the world to overcome COVID so we can stop wearing masks and touch people, hug people.
That would be lovely. That would be lovely. MC, how about you?
I'm excited about these public hearings and the option, like the possibility of meeting a lot of the people. So similar to Cynthia, it feels like we're going to be in person and traveling across Michigan and meeting people from Michigan. I'm excited about that. I'm an extrovert. I'm excited about biking there too, potentially. Not all of them, but I'm excited about the biking.
All right, should be an adventure, that's for sure. Wonderful opportunity. Rebecca, how about you?
Sorry, I had to unmute. I'm actually really excited for my kids to get vaccinated. My husband and I have already been vaccinated with the COVID vaccine, and my older sons, it looks like possibly by the beginning of June, they'll be able to be vaccinated. My younger ones a little later in the year, but I'm just really excited for those vaccines to be approved for younger kids so that they have a bit of protection and we can sort of start carrying on with normal lives again.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Erin, how about you?
I'm excited that Michigan is finally over its winter and spring looks like it's actually here.
Okay, I think it may be. Janice, how about you?
Well, I'm excited to get this show on the road. I'm excited for the public hearings.
That's great. We're all excited about that, I think. Richard?
Yes, I have to agree with MC and Janet. I'm kind of excited to get this going and hopefully get our maps drawn, get them done the first time, and everything goes smoothly.
Dustin, how about you?
Well, I am excited to go to in the immediate future, going to the UP. I plan on fly fishing up there on some rivers that I want to see. I haven't been there. Well, I've been there a couple times, but I haven't been there as an adult, I should say. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun up there.
All right, and we're happy that you can be there with us. Doug Clark, how about you?
Well, this time of year, I always get excited about the Kentucky Derby, and that's coming up Saturday. And gonna get my bets in today.
Okay, may your horse win. How about you, Manita?
I have a twofold excitement. I'm excited about the weather changing and it's pretty warm now. And also the town hall meetings we'll be going to. I'm getting excited about that.
That's great. Anthony, how about you?
Yeah, so in less than 2 weeks now, we'll be in Jackson and then Kalamazoo. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, on a shorter term, the NFL draft is tonight. So let's hope the Lions make the right pick.
We can only hope, right? Okay, how about you, Brittany?
I am excited to be here today, and amongst my peers, this feels really good, and to see you all smiling and hear what you are excited about. And then I am copying Aaron. The weather. I live and breathe for sunshine, so this is great. Minus today, but the general warm up is exciting.
Okay, thank you. And how about you, Steve?
Well, I'm excited that we're going to, at least hopefully all of us be together, and that we'll finally be able to have a slice of MC's bread that he bakes.
So MC, can you bring that bread on your bike? Will that be a part of your luggage? Okay, I don't mean to put you on the spot. So, Edward, how about you?
I'm really excited about these public hearings, to be honest with you. We spent a lot of time as a group trying to get those organized, and to see that they're less than 2 weeks away. Just really excited about the opportunity, and hearing directly from the residents, and seeing people's excitement about it. They want to talk to the commission. They appreciate the opportunity to share what they feel their community of interest might be, or how they felt about the process. So it's just good seeing the beginning in sight.
Thanks, Edward. And how about you, Julianne?
Thank you, Sue Ann. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I am excited for the opportunity of today. I get excited for every new day, but I share in the excitement of going to the public hearings and being together in a safe manner, and getting to spend time with the residents of the state.
Thanks, Julianne. And I have to echo, I am really excited about public hearings. I'm excited about interfacing with our commissioners and getting to know you a little better, because I have not met even some of you in person. So I look forward to that. I look forward to us having time where we can get to know each other a little better. And especially then that time that we have with the public, where we can listen to the citizens of Michigan and gather their input for this process. It's we're off to the races. So thank you, everyone. And I'll send it back to our Chair Kellum.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you for the wonderful icebreaker and your report. We appreciate that. Now moving on to MDOS updates. Ms. Sally Marsh, do you have a report or something that we need to know?
Good morning again, everyone. My update is very brief, but just wanted to let you all know we continue to work to finalize the public comment portal and website that we talked about in more detail last week. So that is set to be live and available to the public at some point next week. But certainly, of course, prior to your public hearing starting on May 11th. So we'll continue to update you as that moves forward, and as we have, the link and materials for public distribution. So stay tuned, and we're excited that that is going to come together in time.
Thank you so much, Sally. We look forward to the continuation of that update. We have now unfinished business, and we have one item, contract for video production services, a resolution, and our communication and outreach director, Edward, was the third. Is there something that we need to know about this resolution before we take some action?
Yes, Madam Chairperson, I have a presentation I'd like to share with the commission at this time with regards to this process, and I will get it up immediately. There we go. Is everyone able to see my screen? If you can just nod your head. Great. Just a little bit of background. We're going to ensure a multimedia education campaign about Michigan's new redistricting process, which included video production services. The funding for this project comes out of the communication outreach budget of $400,000 approved by the MICRC for fiscal year 2021. We requested that the three finalists, Good Fruit Video, Message Makers, and Uno Dos, respond to additional questions to identify the best video production services bid. Here are the questions that we asked. Utilizing production process and the attached information, what would be your wow idea to produce a commercial and a vignette on the redistricting process? Please identify the cost of each for each. The attached information included Redistricting 101 and our Michigan voter survey. The attached information, once again, include Redistricting 101 and the voter survey that was commissioned by the commission. Share how many and the type of 30-second commercials, minimum full HD, you can produce for $24,999.99. Share how many and the type of 1 to 3 minute vignettes, minimum full HD, you can produce for $24,999.99. And share how many and the type of 30-second commercials, whether they would be animated, whether they would be utilizing talent or a hybrid of both, and 1 to 3 minute vignettes, minimum full HD, for $49,999. Share from your work a relevant 30-second commercial, minimum full HD, that focused on increasing awareness or engagement about a new process. Share from your work a relevant 1 to 3 minute vignette, minimum full HD, that focused on public education about a new process. And please share how you address concerns with your clients in the video production process. In assessing the bids, MIRC and MDOS staff are recommending to the commission Good Fruit Video for an amount not to exceed $49,999.99. They will provide the following: 2 30-second commercials, 1 30-second animated commercial, which would be produced in Arabic, English, and Spanish, 3 1 to 3 minute vignettes, 1 30-second commercial that's featuring the commission, and 1 1 to 3 minute vignette that would also feature the commission as well. The motion is to authorize MRC staff to execute a video production services contract with Good Fruit not to exceed $49,999.99 for the first round of public hearings. If there's any questions, Madam Chairperson, I can take them at this time.
Does anyone have any questions for Edward? Richard, I see your hand.
Yes, thank you. Edward, how many times would these air? They're 1 to 3 minutes or whatever. How many times would they air on TV? Do you have that information, or and what
that would actually be under the paid media contract, but also we could use that for YouTube. We also want to use that as a part of our presentations. Remember last week I talked about the vaccine model by Dr. Neil Fleming and how adults learn in 2 or 3 learning styles. The videos actually provide an opportunity for the kinesthetic learning style. And so we could actually incorporate them as part of our videos. We could use them on our social media channels. There's a lot of different options that we're able to do. So please don't look at it just as commercials, but also we want to use it in other aspects as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, for that. I'm sorry. Thank you, Edward, for that explanation. Thank you, Richard, for your question. Doug?
Yeah, I've got a question for clarification. I believe last week when we met, Anthony put forward a motion to have Good Fruit as the vendor. So the question is, was that a motion that's sitting on the table at this point? And if not, I'd like to put one forward.
I can I think our general counsel can speak to it, but the motion didn't pass.
Right.
I believe it didn't pass because we wanted to do more research then. I think that
right. We did vote on it, and it did not carry. So there was a motion, it was voted on, and it didn't carry. But that doesn't prevent you from making your motion today. So
yeah, with this additional information, I'd like to make that motion, please.
I'll second it.
Talking away on mute. It's been moved in second that we vote to approve the resolution for the offer contract for videographer services. All those in favor signify with a raised hand. And all those opposed? By my count, the motion carries, and we are going to go ahead and offer the contract for videographer services as presented. Thank you, Edward. Thank you.
Chair,
yes.
Did Juanita raise her hand, or can she verbally indicate, just for the record, whether she's aye or a nay?
They can't get through on the Zoom form.
Say it again, Juanita. My apologies.
My computer is not receiving the Zoom data for me, so I can't make a statement one way or the other.
We can hear you. Can you give a verbal vote, a yay or a nay? Your vote is yay?
Juanita, yes.
Okay.
Yes, yay.
Thank you. And thank you again, Rebecca. Okay. Our next item on the agenda is new business. We have some public hearing details brought to us again by our Communications and Outreach Director. Edward was the third. So Edward, if you're ready, you can have the floor.
Thank you. Let me just change to the next presentation. All right, are you able to see the presentation? Perfect, thank you. Okay, with regards to public hearings, logistics, itinerary, and schedule, what we want to do is talk a little bit about travel logistics, Tuesday itinerary during the public hearing, Thursday itinerary, the public hearing process with regards to the venues and the facility, but also share some information with regards to registration, security, and technology, and then giving you the dates and locations that were previously emailed earlier this week. As a part of this presentation, we will also hear from Sue Ann Hammersmith, our Executive Director, as well as Saren Reinhardt from MDOS as well. So just to give you a little bit additional details, I do want to share with you that you will receive a daily itinerary so that you understand what is happening each day as a part of this process and the times as relates to your interview schedules, what time you need to be at the public hearing, and what time that's available on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You will receive an itinerary sheet, a one-pager that you can reference that will have all the details, phone numbers you need to contact, or any questions that you may have as relates to that particular day. So once you know, that would be a part of our process. At this time, Sue is going to talk about travel logistics as relates to transportation, lodging, and meals, referencing the one pager that was previously sent to you. Sue?
Okay. The travel regulations that we have all received come in several pages and booklets, and I thought maybe you needed just a one-page simple reference tool. So If you travel by vehicle, you will be reimbursed for your mileage and parking and tolls. But you do not receive reimbursement for fuel or repairs or antifreeze or anything to do with your vehicle. That's covered in the mileage. And we will not reimburse for any parking tickets or moving violations or associated fines, excuse me. You can also use a rental vehicle. There may be some cases where it would be less expensive to pay rent on a vehicle and for the fuel than actually have mileage reimbursement, or if you don't have a reliable vehicle, those may be some reasons you'd want to rent a vehicle. Also, if you would fly, you might need to rent a vehicle. So in that case, you don't get the mileage reimbursement, but you can get reimbursement for fuel with the receipts and reimbursement for a rental vehicle. So, and again, parking and tolls will be reimbursed, but no reimbursement for parking tickets. I would ask you to document on your receipt why you chose to rent the vehicle. So there could be a perfectly logical reason where it would make more sense to rent a vehicle than to drive your own. You can also fly. I know there's some cases where if you're in the Detroit area, it's actually cheaper to fly to Marquette and back home than it is to get reimbursed for mileage. You may have a situation where during that week you are unable to attend the public hearing. That's the second one in the week that would be in Gaylord. So you only need to go to Marquette and back. So there may be a reason for you to fly. If you do, we expect you to book at the lowest fare, and we wouldn't reimburse for any upgrades. And we would cover one piece of luggage and transportation to and from the airport with a receipt. So also you've got to get to the airport and back home from the airport again. I would ask you to document on your receipt why you decided to fly. And again, there may be a perfectly good reason to do so. On meals, those are reimbursed depending on where we are, but the basic rate is $8.50 for breakfast, $8.50 for lunch, and $19 for dinner. Or you can get reimbursed for $36 for the day. So if you decide not to eat breakfast and lunch and go out and spend $36 for dinner, including taxes and tips, that could be reimbursed. With your receipt reimbursement through Kelly Services, if you turn in a receipt that is higher than the amount that is allowed, please put that you're asking for the amount that is allowed. So again, if you spend $10 on lunch and you can only get reimbursed $8.50, turn in your $10 receipt, but in your expense report, only ask to be reimbursed for $8.50. Does that make sense to people? Because otherwise I'll have to deny them and it'll get complicated. So now in certain cities and counties, there is a higher reimbursement. Those are listed. I'm not going to go through them all. But if you're traveling through one of those cities and stop to have a meal, again, you would get a higher reimbursement in some counties and some cities. In some, we will be having public hearings in. Also, the reimbursement is for breakfast if travel begins by 6 and extends past 8:30. For lunch, if travel begins by 11:30 and extends past 2, and for dinner, if travel begins by 5:30 and extends past 8. So if you're on a tour and it's an all-day affair, it would be the full day. So any questions? I'm sorry, my voice is. I have a persistent frog this morning, sorry. So any questions on that? All right, thank you very much.
I'm sorry, Sue, I shook my head and then I realized there was a recommendation to, if we're gonna rent a car, to go through the state travel agency. Is there will you send that to me? I'm anticipating a need to do that.
I will be happy to send that link out. Yes.
Please send it to everybody if you could.
I will.
Thank you.
Does that conclude the details for public hearings?
No, there's more, but Commissioner Ead's hand is up.
I couldn't see. Sorry, Anthony, I didn't see your hand. I apologize.
Nope, that was a mistake. You're good.
Oh,
Okay.
all right, let me get back to the presentation.
Okay.
Tuesday itinerary, we have presentations. I want to thank the commission for getting back with me to let me know about your lodging and as well as whether or not you're available. Our contractors are working, our PR consultants are working to schedule interviews for you during this time. For those of you that are available, that will be a part of your itinerary sheet that you will receive before the event, hopefully the goal is to get it to you Friday for those that take place on Tuesday, and for those that take place on Thursday, that you would get it Monday. Once again, for those events on Tuesday, you would get that on Friday, your itinerary sheet. And for those that take place on Thursday, you would get it on Monday. 10 to 2 is the presentations. 4 to 4:30, PR consultants will be having a press conference so we can, in anticipation of the 5 or 6 o'clock news. The doors will open at 5 o'clock and the public hearings take place for 6 to 9. So this is basically the schedule for every Tuesday of those dates as relates to the public hearings. For Thursday, all the Thursday dates, once again, you'll get your itinerary sheet on Monday. You'll have your presentations from 10 to 2. You'll have the press conference. It will take place from 4 to 4:30. The doors will open at 4 o'clock. There'll be the weekly MICRC meeting, and then the public hearings will start from 6 to 9. As it relates to public hearings, we have 2 things we're working with. We're working with contracting the facility. I've done site visits, so I'm familiar with each and every one of the 16 facilities that we have. And then I'm also working with AV contractors. One of the things is that some facilities do not have existing relationships with AV contractors. And they're telling us it is our responsibility to go out and recruit, whereas others, you have to use their AV contractors or you might get charged a surplus if you bring them in. What we'll talk about a little bit later is for those that do not have facilities, AV contractors, and the ones that stick out the most is Jackson as in need of one. We also have an issue with regards to Warren and also the Van Dyke Mortgage Convention Center in Muskegon. We're not sure where we are with Flint. They have someone, but we're working on that as well. But for those that do not have it and or will not put it as a part of their invoice, we need to address this so that we can get a reasonably priced AV contractor these facilities. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But those are the 2 things which drives the public hearings is actually the facility and the AV contractors. At our public hearings, we will have a registration desk. We'll have volunteer greeters from the community that will assist in telling a registration desk. It's a contactless process. We will be entering names voluntarily for those who are at the public hearing as a precaution, just in case there is a COVID outbreak. We have an opportunity to notify those that were there. Obviously, we will do a press announcement as well if something was to take place. We'll have signage there that identifies what's going on. There's a mask requirement. We will make sure we have masks for those who are not able to have it. And you can also sign up for public comment. The sign up for public comment at the registration desk for all of those that are in person, as you know, that will end at 8 o'clock p.m. Last week, there was a question about security. Just want to let you know that paid security on staff will be available, not just inside the building, but also in the parking lot as well. And then with regards to the technology, it will be available, obviously, in person and remote. When we talk about remote, we're talking about telephone, and we're also talking about virtual, as in through Zoom. Sarah is really expert on this, and we're very fortunate to have Sarah and her team working with us at MDOS. And Sarah, if there's any comments that you'd like to share at this time to the commission, I want to provide that opportunity.
Sure, thank you. Hello, commissioners. I'm really excited that I will be attending each hearing of the MICRC to assist in facilitating the live stream and Zoom webinar of the event. Each hearing, as you know, will be broadcast in Zoom and live on YouTube. And the Zoom meeting will look a lot like what it currently looks like now, except that instead of each commissioner joining from their own individual laptop, there will be one video feed in the Zoom meeting of the event itself, and that will be broadcast in the Zoom meeting and on the YouTube live stream. In the venue itself, there will be a screen projector that will display the Zoom meeting, as well as a monitor facing commissioners so that they will also be able to view the meeting. The screen will display ASL translators as well as closed captioning. It will also display any virtually attending commissioners, as well as virtual public comment participants or remote public comment participants during that portion of the meeting. The setup will also allow for two-way communication so that all virtual participants, whether commissioners or public comment participants, will be seen and heard, and you will also be able to engage with them as well. And that's all I have. Thanks for allowing me to speak. I really look forward to assisting at these hearings, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Vice Chair Zatella, if there's any questions for Sarah by the commission, we want to give them that opportunity to do so at this time, and I see our chairs back. If there's any questions, let's please give Sarah the opportunity to do it, because you know she's doing a lot behind the scenes to execute this meeting. So are there any questions for Sarah? I think Commissioner Rothhorn's hand is up.
Yep, go ahead, MC.
Sarah, my memory of the when we met in Lansing was that it was difficult because the commissioners, as we were all in the room, and it was hard to hear each other because it was mic'd. And I guess I'm thinking about the two-way communication you're describing. And can you assure me that we will be, as commissioners, be able to hear each other in addition to everyone else?
Absolutely. Edward has been working with AV contractors to ensure that audio will be heard in the Zoom meeting and in the webinar, in the live stream, as well as your voices will be amplified during the meeting. So you'll be able to hear each other and there will not be interference between those two.
You're like a wunderkind. Danke.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And Commissioner Rothhorn, just so you know, the AV specs for this are very detailed. That's why the costs were up. And the reason why we want to get permission to negotiate is that the existing AV contractors are willing to give us comparable rates or less expensive rates for multiple facilities that do not have AV. And if you remember, the motion that was approved before authorized our executive director to negotiate directly with the facilities, but that was mainly with facilities who had existing AV. For those that do not have it, we need the permission to negotiate directly with them. And what we're doing is we're getting comparable rates and from that they're giving at other facilities, or even less for volume discount. And that would be the motion that's coming before you a little bit later in this presentation. I am almost finished, and I want to get back to my shared screen. And here are the locations in terms of where we are for the public. American One Event Center on Tuesday, May 11th. That will start at 6 o'clock. In Kalamazoo, we're at the Wings Event Center on Thursday, May 13th. The weekly meeting will start at 5. Public hearing will be at 6. On locations and dates, the second, where you see the second, that's for the second round of public hearings. And for the public, the commission is booking these venues for first and second so that we can get the best rate possible for hosting multiple meetings at the same site. We'll be at the Northern Center at Northern Michigan University on Tuesday, May 18th. Once again, that will start at 6 o'clock. We'll be at Gaylord on Thursday, May 20th. Once again, that will start with the weekly commission meeting at 5 and the public hearing at 6. We'll be at Treetops Resorts. On Tuesday, May 25th, we're at the Great Hall Banquet and Convention Center. That will start Tuesday at 6 o'clock p.m. And then in Lansing, we're at the Lansing Center. That's for the first and second round. The first round will be Thursday at May 27th. We'll start with our weekly MICRC meeting at 5. and the public hearing at 6. On Tuesday, June 1st, we'll be at the Dort Center in Flint for the first round. That will start Tuesday at 6:00 p.m. On Thursday, we'll be at Dearborn at the Ford Community and Performing Arts Center. That will take place on Thursday, June 3rd, weekly meeting starting at 5 and the public hearing starting at 6. On Tuesday, June 8th, we're at Suburban Collection Showplace in Novi. That will start once again at 6:00 p.m. On Thursday, June 10th, we'll be at Pontiac at the Centerpoint Marriott. That will start at 5:00 p.m. with the weekly meeting and the public hearing at 6:00. In Detroit, we'll be at the Village Dome at Fellowship Chapel. That will start Tuesday, June 15th, and the meeting will start at 6:00 p.m. And then on Thursday, we'll be at the TCF Center, formerly known as Coble Hall, on Thursday, June 17th, with the weekly meeting starting at 5 and the public hearing starting at 6. We will be at the Blue Water Convention Center on Tuesday, June 22nd. That will start at 6:00 p.m. And then on Thursday, we'll be at Warren, Michigan at the MRCC Banquet Center at June 24th, starting with the weekly meeting at 5:00 and the public hearing at 6:00. Then on Tuesday, June 29th, we'll be at the Van Dyke Mortgage Convention Center in Muskegon. That will start at 6:00 p.m. And then we'll be at Grand Rapids on Thursday, July 1st at the DeVos Place Convention Center, starting at 5:00 with our weekly meeting and 6:00 for our public hearing. The motion that was sent to you earlier today is to address the AV concerns at facilities that do not have an A team or contractor on their staff. You received it in the email, and I'll just read it into the record. Resolved that the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, MICRC, hereby grants the Communications and Outreach Director the authority to negotiate AV contracts for public hearing facilities that do not have an AV team or contractor on staff, and grant the Executive Director authority to execute such contracts in order to conduct the first round of MICRC public hearings in accordance with the policy for approval of expenses adopted on January 7, 2021, and Resolution 2021-0103, and pursuant to the budget adopted on March 11, 2021, in Resolution 2021-213. Madam Chairperson, I move adoption of this motion by the MICRC.
I will say so moved.
Thank you. I have Dustin with the motion. I think Doug with the second, if I'm seeing that correctly. Well, my screen sometimes switches. Okay.
I didn't second, I had a question.
Oh, EMC. Okay. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, just for clarification, Edward, this money for the AVs is already in the budget?
Yes, it's part of the, I think it was 320,000. I don't have it in front of me. It's a part of that. So there's no additional money being requested whatsoever.
Okay, great.
Cynthia, do you have a question for Edward? Yep.
So at each of these locations, is there free parking for the public?
We're negotiating on that part of it with regards to that. But for the most part, yes, there's free parking for the public. We have a couple facilities that we're still negotiating that through.
Thank you, Edward. So to return to the motion that's on the floor, that was presented by Dustin, seconded by MC or Rebecca, whichever. I'm not picky. If we are going to approve or authorize the seeking of AV contractors for those public hearing facilities that are without an AV team, if you are okay with that authorization, please signify with a raised hand. And Juanita, you can give a verbal vote.
Yeah.
Okay. And all those who are opposed. Okay. So it has been approved that we will go ahead with that resolution to authorize AV contractors for those public hearing facilities that are without that option. Edward, I think you have something else for us. However, by my count on the agenda, we are up for a 10-minute break. If we would like to take that 10-minute break, I propose that we come back at around at 10:11. Okay, everyone do what you need to do for 10 minutes, and then we'll give Edward our attention when we return.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sterling, I'm here. Stir.
Welcome back, commissioners. Richard, you have your hand raised, or the animated hand is raised. I don't know if that's intentional.
Yes, I have a quick question, if that's all right. When Mr. Wood gets back, I'd like to ask him a quick question.
Sure, of course.
Thank you. Mr. Woods, I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
You know I'm up to something. So my question is this. I'm assuming that we start at 10 at our itinerary, so we will all be at the venues, correct? At 10?
No, you'll actually be at your hotel. And then, because some of the presentations will be virtual and some would be in person. And so that's kind of where we are. I do need to let the commission know that if we have interviews, obviously that could be at any time in terms of media interviews, but we have our partners reaching out in the respective and surrounding communities to identify places for commission, as well as your staff to do presentations to draw people to the public hearing on that particular day.
And then the other question is, when we go to the venue, will we have a designated area to come in or a designated place to park?
Parking will pretty much be on your own, and you would come in the main entrance. We are going to ask that the commission come an hour early, but no later than 30 minutes, just so we know everyone is there. And if there's any things that we need to explain or any orientation, we would let you know at that time.
Okay, thank you, CD.
Any other? Yes, Janice, go ahead.
I have a question about, you said we would be at our hotel. Well, on all the Tuesday ones, I'm coming up on Tuesday. So in order for me to be there at 10, and you usually can't check into a hotel room, I didn't ask you to reserve a hotel room for me before any of the Tuesday meetings. They were all after. So I don't have a hotel room on Tuesday before the meeting.
Well, all right. Well, we will work with you with regards to identifying a spot. The venues are basically open to us. So if you need to do something from a venue, we can make that happen. Or if you're doing something in person, but we will make sure everyone has a spot that they can use, no matter what time they get in for the presentations.
Okay. Yeah, because I hadn't planned on being there at 10 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Janice, for vocalizing that concern. And thank you, Edward, for addressing it. Dustin.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. So Edward, if you want to give me a call after the meeting or something, that would be
sure. Not a problem. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And please note, commissioners, that you obviously have the right of refusal depending on travel and scheduling. If you're unable to do an actual presentation, your team is here to back up because we're all on the same team. And we've done that in the past and we'll continue to do so. But we're just trying to maximize our opportunity when we're in those areas.
Any other questions so far about what Edward has presented to us? Okay, so Edward, I will give the floor back to you to continue on with your communication and outreach updates. It looks like we're at media purchases to promote public hearings. So I want to give you a chance to talk a little bit about that.
Thank you so much. Nod your head if you can see my screen.
I can see
Thank you very much. That helps. All right. As you know, this is part of the update. Just kind of want to share with you in terms of like a week in review. As you know, our goals are fairness, awareness, transparency, and education. Ensure fairness in the redistricting process. As you know, many people had questions with regards to reapportionment and where the commission as relates to going from 14 to 13 congressional seats. And I just want you to know, I shared that it doesn't change the mission. Our mission is to lead Michigan's redistricting process to assure Michigan's congressional, state Senate, and state House district lines are drawn fairly in a citizen-led, transparent process, meeting constitutional mandates. So fairness still exists, whether it was 14, 15, 16, 13, or 12 seats as relates to that. So just wanted to share that with you. awareness, heightened awareness in the redistricting process. Want to thank the commissioners. Our statewide part of the League of Women Voters is still doing outreach and village. They're doing town hall forums. A lot of you have participated in your local areas. And this has just been a great outpouring. This receives excellent media coverage with regards to heightened awareness. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and their team for all that they are doing, and their point person on this project, Sue Smith, who's doing a tremendous job in coordinating and making these things happen. And once again, thanks to the commissioners. Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Weiss, and Commissioner Lang participated in the American Legion Department of Michigan. That's going to be distributed to 17,000 people in Michigan. So I just really want to thank them for their participation. We also had Flashpoint this past week. I want to thank Commissioner Kellum, Commissioner Zatella, and Commissioner Clark for being a part of that on WDIV Channel 4. Want to thank Commissioner Eid for the Reddit that he did yesterday. So just want to share that with you. And then also on yesterday, I had the opportunity to present to the Jackson County Clerks Association with regards to the redistricting process. So we're always looking for more statewide organizations with affiliate or members across the state to ensure no communities of interest are left behind. So if you're a statewide organization, you want to be a part, let us know, give us your email, reach out to me. We can never have enough partners. We just had another one reach out to me last week, and we're always taking more partners and organizations that can help us to ensure that no communities of interest are left behind. If you're interested in getting updates about the commission, or you want to know what's going on, go to our website, www.michigan.gov/MICRC, and sign up for the alerts that you can get. Sign up for the alerts. If you want to be in the know, sign up for the alerts. You can get that information. When I looked last week, we had more than 4,600 entities that had signed up for alerts as it relates to the MICRC. Model transparency. People are like, well, what's going to happen with this new? I go, let's be very clear. No maps have been drawn until we have our public hearings. So we just want to reiterate to the public that no maps have been drawn. So it doesn't matter that it went from 14 to 13 seats. It just doesn't matter at all, because no maps have been drawn, because according to our Constitution, we are required to have a minimum of 10 public hearings so that we can share information about the redistricting process, share the purpose of the commission, and solicit public feedback at the upcoming hearings before we can draw any maps. So just want you to know the messaging that we're providing and how we're communicating that to the public as well. Last but not least, we want to increase engagement in the redistricting process. We will have media and outreach kits available next week. Media and outreach kits available next week with regards to the redistricting process. The outreach kits will mainly really focus on how people can identify and get communities of interest in terms of coming together and what that means, how to explain redistricting. We're finding out in some of the communities, people don't understand redistricting. They understand the census, and they understand that if we're not counted, $18,000 or whatever the number may be per year does not come into the community. But trying to really explain redistricting at the grassroots level and getting people engaged is really a point of both the media and outreach kits. We want to look at some paid media, and we also would like to look at some billboards. I sent you some information out earlier this week with regards to 3 organizations, and I want to put this on the screen. At the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission approves direct media buys totaling up to $60,000 from the Michigan Association of Broadcasters, New Michigan Media, and the Michigan Press Association for promoting the first round of the public hearings. Just want to get people aware of the public hearings, get people aware of the MICRC as well. And Madam Chairperson, if we can get a motion to approve this at this time, I would be so grateful. And I just want to reiterate that this is in the communications and outreach budget already approved by the MICRC.
Thank you, Edward, for that clarification. Also, I'm very proud of my peers and the work that we've been doing to bring engagement awareness. So I wanted to take that brief moment to reiterate that before I listen out for a motion to approve the media or to vote to approve the media buys to promote public hearings?
So moved.
Thank you, Steve.
Second.
So moved by Steve, second by, did I get Dustin? Okay, I want to make sure we get that clear for Julianne.
And I just want to be clear, it's promoting awareness of the MICRC and or the public hearings, just so that we're aware.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the resolution as presented for media buys to promote public hearings, please signify with a raised hand. Juanita, you can give your verbal indication or vote.
Yes.
Thank you. All those opposed? So
All right.
it's
Good.
been
And
approved.
as you know, the reason why awareness is important based upon our data that we received from the Glenn Gariff group that was commissioned, roughly only 25% are aware of the work of the commission. So we really want to make sure we get that out there. So thank you very much. My last information is we want to, hold on, I need to share the screen first.
Last information, I have about 3 more informations that we need from you, Edward, before you leave. It's fine if you have fewer, just making sure that I'm staying on top.
Are you able to see my screen? Can you not?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
No.
And the last one, we want to resolve that the Michigan Independent Redistricting Commission approves direct media buys for billboard advertising. There's 3 billboard advertisers in Michigan. It's Adams Outdoor Advertising, the Lamar Group, and the Outfront Group, and they cover the entire state. Totaling up to $60,000 for all 3 of them for promoting the first round of the MICRC public hearings and increasing awareness of the commission. For promoting the first round of the MICRC public hearings and or increasing awareness for the commission, we're looking at both video boards as well as print. And once again, this is up to $60,000 for all 3 vendors combined. And once again, this money is included as a part of the $400,000 approved by the commission for the communications and outreach budget for fiscal year 2021.
Thank you, Edward. Do I have a motion on the floor?
So moved.
And seconded by Rhonda. No, Rhonda, you have a question? Okay. Rhonda, would you like to? Yep.
Edward, my question is, where are the proposed billboard sites going to be?
Across the state. That's why we have to go with all 3, because they don't cover, not one vendor covers the entire state.
Okay, so how many are we looking at?
That would be
across
based,
the state, that's pretty broad. Can
right,
we-
I'm just saying that would be based upon the bids we receive.
Okay.
But we want to cover the entire state of Michigan. And so once we realize what our opportunities are, and then we'll go accordingly. Because like, for example, some would be print, that's one particular cost, and then some are video. But we want to make sure the rural areas, suburban areas, urban areas, all of those are covered.
Thank you, Edward. Dustin, do you have a question as well? No? Okay.
Or statement. I mean, you got to also remember, I mean, I don't really see a bunch of advertise here things on a billboard. Most of them are taken, and I don't think they're going to construct any of them for us. So it's going to have to be systematically placed on availability, if I would have to guess.
That would be, and the commission would see exactly where they are, just like the print ads and all that. In terms of the documentation, we would have all of that available for the commission.
Okay. I'll still make the motion.
Okay, I was going to say, for purposes of good record, I have Dustin making the motion, Rebecca with the second. All those in favor of us approving the direct buys for billboard advertising totaling up to $6,000, please indicate what $60,000, excuse me.
Thank you.
Tried to lowball you, I apologize. Please indicate with a raised hand. And Juanita, you can give a verbal indication.
Yes.
Okay. All those opposed? And the resolution passes to approve the direct buys for billboard advertising by, if I'm keeping a correct count of votes. So not lastly, maybe two more things. We have a discussion of the event planner by Edward Woods, still up.
Okay, great. Just want to inform the commission that we do have.
Oh, Cynthia, I'm sorry. Cynthia, did you have a question?
I just have a comment. Can I just put this in here? I just want to get this out there. I feel like I realize we need to get the word out, but I feel like our main purpose is to listen to the public and draw the lines. I feel like we're spending all this time and money just publicizing, and I'm concerned we're going to run out of money or time or whatever to do the actual work that we're supposed to do. I don't know if anyone else is feeling that way, but I just wanted to say that.
I want to just interject. The funds have already been approved. It's in the budget that we approved for Edward to use. So there's not any other money that we really need to be worrying about because we approved it already. So
and I understand that, but we're spending all this time and energy on this.
Yeah, I get that. But I mean, if we approved the budget for him to be able to use these funds that we approved for him, he should be able to use those funds without really much question. I mean, he's the professional here in regards to how to get the communications out to the public. And we need to make sure that the public does know about it, because these advertisements are going to make sure that people in those areas are going to be able to, one, know about it, and two, come to our public meetings.
And I would like to step in. I think what Cynthia, and I don't want to speak for you, Cynthia, so definitely, wag your finger at me if you need to, but I think you're expressing more of a sentiment. This process does feel like very nebulous and unclear. They were doing a lot of talking about the work, but like, what is it going to be? What is it going to feel like? And I would like to think, I don't have the answer at all, but I think some of maybe what you're experiencing, you'll get the fruits of our labor when we're in public hearings and connecting and hearing the thoughts, and then starting to actually dig in and think about what a map is going to look like. And I can relate to that because I like to dig my hands in and I like to see the results and start playing around and experimenting. But I think this is the process part, right? This is like the prep work for the amazing cake, hopefully, that we're in charge of chefing. So that's what I can offer. It's not really an answer. And that's why you said it was a statement. You're having a feeling about it. So I think that's understandable. I don't know if that massages that part of the miserable spot, but that's what I can speak to. And I think Rebecca had a comment, or anyone else that wants to share.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we know from the research that's been done that people aren't aware of half the people are aware of the law itself, and less than 25% or around 25% are aware of our commission. So we're not going to get good feedback if people don't even know what we're doing. And so this is a necessity driven by the lack of awareness. And, to Dustin's point, it is within the budget, and it just happens to be necessary for us to achieve our goal. We aren't going to get the feedback necessary to draw maps if nobody has any idea that we're holding public meetings.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, Cynthia, it is, it's a leap of faith. All of this, these are proven results that Edward brings to us, and we are entrusting, expert or not, it's still a bit of trial and error. So we hope that we get folks talking and thinking about it, watching us discuss here. Those different urgencies are created by this plan that we're putting together for communications and outreach. So I definitely respect you saying that. I get it, for sure. Rhonda.
Cynthia asked, and I do have the same sentiment. So Cynthia, I want you to know that you're not alone. I know sometimes it can be hard to express our opinions because we don't want to upset the rest of the group in any way, shape, or form, or have them look differently at us. I do agree with you. My only deal with the billboards is how much information are they really going to see going by them at 75 miles an hour? Really? I mean, is it really truly going to get the awareness that we want compared to, say, his media ads or, you know, the online ads or things like that? Is it truly $60,000? Is it truly a wise investment for that? And that's how I'm looking at it.
It is.
Thank you, Rhonda. Juanita, did you have something that you wanted to add?
Yes, I just want to say that when I be driving, I always pay attention to the billboard, and they're very, very helpful, and they keep you informative of what's going on or where things are located. So I enjoy watching the billboards. I do pay attention, and I don't always drive 75 miles an hour, but they're helpful.
Well, I hope you're keeping up on the freeway, Juanita. But well, I mean, there is a bit of a psychology to the things that influence us. So I think the method here, and I'm not an Edward. I didn't go to school for that. Mental health, ask me those things. Commissioner things, you can ask me now that I'm experiencing it. But if you titrate someone's senses, right? You see a little bit every day, whether you go to McDonald's or not, like you can describe and probably draw the golden arches. So I think the idea here is that we bombard them as well as, empower and answer questions, so that it's billboards, it's radio, it's WDIV, it's podcasts, it's interviews. And then so all of a sudden, if nothing else, you're at least Googling redistricting, and you see our faces and you're interacting in that way. So that's what I can say. And just when Edward mentioned, I'm like, oh, those are the names that are at the bottom, at the billboard. I didn't even realize that I had seen these things. So yeah, it's not, again, it's not perfect, but I think there's a method behind the madness. I see Steve's hand.
Yeah. Or marketing, you market what your merchandise, your product. Or marketing. So we're marketing the redistricting, our redistricting thing, so that people are aware of what's going on and when it's going to happen. So you have to market it, because people, believe it or not, don't pay attention to too many things unless they hear it all the time or see it somewhere all the time.
Thank you, Juanita. Please continue to chirp in, because I can't see if you have a hand raised, so don't feel like you're barging in.
I don't understand what's going on with my computer. It won't do anything hardly today. So
it's okay. It happens to the best of us all the time. It's fine.
Yeah. So
Steve.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we should not be, Rhonda or Cynthia or anyone else should not be reticent to voice an opinion. We are not all of the same opinion. And I certainly, and I don't feel any of the other commissioners are going to feel adverse or untoward towards anybody who expresses their opinion. That's what we're here for. So don't hold back. You have a concern, let's hear it. And nobody's going to think ill of anybody who has any concerns on this commission. We're all here for one purpose. Thank you.
I agree with Steve. I know that for one thing, that when we were in school in Wayne State University, and we did public relations and journalism, all that goes with the communications that Edward has to do, the marketing part and the putting out stuff so people can read about us and hear about us. That's all a part of his job and the things that you learn in school to do. So he's on the right track. He's doing a great job. And I know we're concerned about the money and everything, but this is what it takes, not only the MICRC, but for other companies and everything, they do the same thing. They get it out there on the news, on the billboards, everywhere, and that's how people learn about what's going on in the state or in their town. So it's good. It's good advertisement.
Well, thank you, commissioners. And again, thank you, Cynthia, for raising the question. Rhonda, thank you for echoing the sentiment, because these
Yeah.
discussions are not just what we need to have, but I think the public also needs to see like our thought process and that we're invested. You know, that sentiment means that you care that they're interacting with us. So if no one else listened to us today, please know that Cynthia is trying to make sure that you are aware of our redistricting work, and we all want you to participate and be involved for sure. So I'm going to give the floor back to Edward so that he can tell us about all things event planning, and so that we stay on track. So go ahead, Edward.
Once again, just thank you, Commission, for the support and the feedback. I appreciate the calls, the suggestions, and the ideas, because a multimedia education campaign, you're really trying to hit people 2 or 3 different times. And just hearing your feedback and concerns allow us to fine tune our process and try to find other ways to communicate so no one is left behind. I don't care if you're in a rural or suburban or urban area, you need to hear about the work of the MICRC and the outstanding commission that we have. So just want to support the commission and thank each and every one of you for your feedback, your emails, your texts, your messages to strengthen our overall plan. Kristen Taylor will be assisting us with the events. She's an event planner. She's coming out of the communications and outreach budget, and she'll be assisting with the first round of public hearings. She will be manning the registration desk, ensuring the layout is done according to the contract, and working closely with me at each of the event hearings that we have at this time. So just wanted you to know that she is on a contract with us for under the $5,000 limit coming out of the communications and outreach budget. And you'll have the opportunity to meet her in Jackson on May 11th. So just wanted to share that with you. Also need to share with you that in light of the vote with Good Fruit Video, that when you're either in Jackson or Kalamazoo, or if you need to come in, we will need you to come in that week to East Lansing to tape your portion of that video. So I'll reach out to you but I want to make sure that you're aware for planning purposes when you come to Jackson or when you come to Kalamazoo, that we do need you to stop off at East Lansing to record your portion of both the commercial and the vignette. And I'll provide more information to you after I talk to the contractor tomorrow. And those are all of my updates. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Edward. I see Doug, you have a hand raised.
Yeah, I have a question regarding Kristen. The way you explained it and the way I've read it on some of the emails that have come across, that her assignment will be dedicated to event planning. Why wouldn't we also put her in the role of maybe project management coordinator? For example, next week, the state's going to be rolling out the new software for public comment. And somehow we've got to coordinate to people that we had this old way of doing it. Now we've got this new way of doing it. So why couldn't she play a role to do those types of things as well? And we keep her doing things on. I mean, her priority should be event planning at this point because of what we're doing for the next 2 months. But why can't we use her for other things as well?
Well, when we looked at the hours, Commissioner Clark, in terms of what's involved, I mean, it's not just the event planning, it's also getting the signage and any ancillary items that need to be taken care of and trying to be true to the process. We only had enough hours allotted for that. It doesn't mean that she may not be able to help in other areas, but I do know that we are working with MDOS staff with regards to the public comment aspect. And I'm not sure if Miss Sally Marsh is in a position to kind of talk about some of those things, but we did not combine it for those reasons because of the time allotted that to not only execute the event for that, but also in preparation for the event. She's booking the hotels in terms of assisting with the hotels. She's looking at signage. She's doing volunteer orientation. There's just, you know, a lot behind the scenes just to execute that, to make sure that it runs smoothly. That was not part of the consideration with regards to that. However, having said that, the public comment, in addition to MDOS staff, we do have our PR consultants that will be working with regards to getting the word out, and how that process will change will be a part of what they're doing as a part of their contracts as well. So between MDOS, MICRC, and our PR consultants, I think we'll be able to address that.
Yeah, I was really looking at past the next 2 months, you know, once we get through these 16 public hearings. Are we still going to have her on staff to utilize?
No, her contract would basically end after the first round of public hearings.
Okay, and then what are we going to do? Pick her up again for the second round?
Possibly, depending on how she performs.
Okay. And so she'll be dedicated to event planning only and report to you? Is that how it's set up?
Correct.
Okay.
Rhonda.
Edward, I want to go back to the good fruit because you brought up the taping portion of it for the commissioners. And I noticed in their proposal that they actually had a really, what I thought was a neat idea of coming to the commissioners in their hometowns, so people really get an eye of who we are and where we come from. Are you ruling out that? Are you saying that you're going with a different, I don't know what you'd call it, a different direction?
Well, they did two. They did an option A and an option B. Option A had the commission coming to them, and then option B had them going out to the commission, like you just suggested, or the commission coming to them. It was a difference in $10,000. So in order to cut the cost, since they wanted the commission to come for the commercial, we just thought it would be prudent, since we're paying for commission travel anyway, to come to Jackson or Kalamazoo, that as a part of that stop, when they're taping the commercial, they would also do the vignette. So to address some of the things that you've mentioned, you know, maybe we can look at some background footage of the respective community, but we just thought paying $10,000 in additional for mileage and a traveling crew would not be the most prudent way to go. And especially seeing that we only had $49,999.99 to work with.
So what happens if somebody is not in Jackson or Kalamazoo?
They would just, we would pay the commissioner's mileage to go to the studio to record, similar to the same way we did the photos.
Any other questions for Edward? Dustin, is that a hand? Okay. All right. So Edward, I thank you for that extensive update and for your patience in answering and fielding all the questions. Of course, if you have any more questions for Edward, he is always here for us to gently inquire with all of our needs and concerns and thoughts. So again, you're appreciated, Edward, and we're going to move on to some updates from our general counsel, Julianne Pastula. She is going to talk to us about remote meeting extension for May 6th. So I'm handing it over to you, Julianne.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Before the commission is a resolution to conduct next week's Thursday meeting remotely. The Ingham County Board of Commissioners, the evening of April 27th, adopted the extension through May for the emergency declaration. So that would be the basis of holding the May 6th MICRC meeting remotely. And that is the resolution before you for your consideration.
Thank you, Julianne.
I move the adoption of the resolution.
Thank you, Steve. And it's been seconded by Cynthia Orton. So all those in favor of us approving the continued electronic virtual MICRC meeting on May 6th, 2021, please give a show of hand. And Juanita, you can give a verbal vote. And all those opposed, same sign. All right, we have approved the continued electronic resolution or electronic virtual MICRC meeting resolution. And still same person, procurement request for quote. Go ahead, Julianne.
Thank you so much again, Madam Chair. What I have before the commission this morning is a request to obtain under the informal procurement process requiring 3 bids, a quote for a legal staffing agency. The reason that this is being offered is I do not believe I require or need either part-time or full-time support. So going through a legal staffing agency would enable project-based work to be done as needed and invoiced upon completion. The request would detail for the agencies the number of years in business, as well as the experience and hourly rates for their staffing. These bids would all come before the commission. Staff would conduct its review and make a recommendation. I did want to note that the executive director and I had spoken about reserving about a portion of the unencumbered budget for legal services. We just didn't have a need to formally amend the budget. So again, there would be money available in the budget that is unencumbered for this, and that would be my request at this time. I would also note that the RFP for litigation counsel should be coming before the commission in the very near future. So again, this would just be for paralegal or research staffing support. For me, this would be entirely separate from the litigation counsel. And depending on the firm that's chosen for litigation counsel, it could in the future reduce the need for assistance from the legal staffing agency. So that was the ask and the resolution before the commission today. Thank you.
Thank you, Julianne. I see that we have hands, so I'm assuming there's some discussion about the resolution. I saw Steve's hand first and then Doug.
Yeah, Julianne, is this anticipated this will be an attorney to do legal research, etc.?
That's an excellent question, Commissioner Lett. I think it depends on what the project that I would need. So and that's another reason that I really thought that going with an agency would give the commission the most flexibility, give me the most flexibility. I think it depends on the project. I think there are some things that I could have a paralegal do. And I put the rate request in for an attorney in there, but again, I wanted to leave it open depending on the project or the need.
Thank you, Julianne. Doug?
Yes, I have a few questions on this, or suggestions. I read through the memo that Julianne sent out, or got sent out with the agenda. I would suggest, right now it says through December 31st. I would suggest that we do it through January 21st to correspond with what we're asking of the Supreme Court. Just to cover us through that time period. Another suggestion would be that we allocate on a budget half of the amount, which would be about $24K for this fiscal year and $24K for the next fiscal year, so that we divide it up that way. And from a budgeting standpoint. And then probably the most important point of the three is that my opinion is we should not go to our unallocated funds in the budget and fund this. That my opinion is that we should approve this. I mean, I'm fully in favor of this. I think it's an excellent idea, an excellent way to operate. But I think we should reduce some of the budget money we've allocated to other things to offset what we're going to need for the legal assistance. I'd like to get some comments from people, particularly on this third point. I yield back.
Thank you, Doug. Any thoughts about the discussion that is happening right now? Cynthia?
Well, I agree with Doug. That's the using part of it this fiscal year and part of it next, I think is a good idea. And I really agree that we need this and we need Julianne to have whatever support she needs, but we don't have a current budget. So I'm wondering, where do we have that money? And like Doug said, it probably needs to come from something that we've already allocated, because I think we were pretty much used up. So it would help if we had a current budget to look at.
Dustin, did you have a response to that or another? Yep.
Just a question to Doug. I mean, I'm in favor of this too. I think it's a great idea. Where would you suggest we start looking to cut funds from our budgeted amounts currently, out of curiosity?
Well,
because I do agree with you. I feel like that would be a good way to offset it.
Yeah, and it leaves us some rainy day money in case something else comes up that we need to spend money for from the unallocated part. I would tend to look, well, let me bring the budget up real quick. Yeah, I've got it here. I would tend to look at the areas where we've projected the biggest dollar amounts, and that would be, we can't touch salaries of people, but that would be in the communications and outreach activity. And sorry, Edward. I think public hearing costs, venue technology, security and parking and so forth. Those are the two biggest areas. That last one was 320,000 and the first one I mentioned was 371,000. So take 12 grand from each one. And I'm talking this fiscal year, but I would tend to go the same way for the next fiscal year as well. So I answer your question, Dustin. That's where I would personally look at it. And that still leaves us the 160,000 of unallocated funds to be able to utilize should other things come up. I think Julianne just mentioned having another attorney or something contracted at some point. So I mean, that's not in the budget either, as far as I can see. So that's where I would suggest, Dustin. You have a comment?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, but I would imagine that it would be much more prudent for us to have an updated budget before we can make those decisions. So because of that alone, I would say that we should probably table this until our next meeting, until we get a chance to look at the new revised budget that's going to be sent out.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think, Julianne, are you going to go out for bids on this? I think if we're going to do that, we can move forward with at least that portion of it and understand it.
It would be, we would have the period open for the 7 days to obtain the informal bids, hopefully more than 3.
And they'd come back with dollar amounts to provide the service.
Well, they'll have the hourly billing rate that we'll be able to compare again to see whether it would be a paralegal. There's legal research analysts that I'm familiar with, or as Commissioner Lett indicated, whether it would in fact be something that would need a licensed attorney.
Correct. Yeah, I would suggest, from what I've heard so far, is that we proceed forward with that portion of it and then table the discussion until we get that and until we get all the information. That's what I would suggest.
Does anyone else have any? Oh, does anyone have any other thoughts?
I agree with Doug wholeheartly. So.
Yeah, we don't have enough information to make those kinds, and then we don't want to sacrifice any other part of the budget in a way that is detrimental in the future.
No.
Julianne,
So
did you have, go ahead.
So I'd like to put forward the motion that we proceed in that manner, that Julianne go out and get the dollar amounts, and then we table the motion until we get that information back and further discuss it.
Just to be, one of the things that I think Julianne is asking for is the flexibility, right, to have a staffing agency. So I guess respond if this is appropriate, Julianne, but it feels to me like it's very difficult to get specific information on projects you can anticipate, but you're not certain what the level of expertise is until you sort of get into it. And I think so if it's an impossible task that we're asking of you with that, the motion that, or the request that Doug just made of you, that's what I'm hoping you'll respond to.
Well, and I appreciate all the feedback and the questions, and certainly the relationship to the budget that will be identified next week at next week's meeting. I think it would almost be more prudent to just table this item and bring it back as unfinished business next week, and proceed in that manner rather than have postings. Again, it would be a drawdown contract. So it would just be under that limit. You could use 5,000 of it, 8,000 of it, or 40,000 of it. So again, I think it might be the best course of action if the commission would move this to unfinished business as an agenda item next week. And I don't know if the executive director wanted to weigh in. I certainly defer to her on the budget conversations. So.
I will have a full reporting. I usually do this on a monthly basis. So the month ends tomorrow, and I will do a budget update for you. We've got a better sense, I think, from our consultants, how we'll be paying those out. So I will put that all together and have it for you next week.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Julianne. Steve, I want to make sure I get your hand.
Julianne, there's nothing preventing you from giving us some kind of idea of what the various agencies would charge on an hourly basis. You've indicated you're familiar with some of them, and we could have information that says if we're going to use a paralegal, it's going to be a range of hourly rates between this and this, and if it's going to be an attorney, someone who just passed the bar is going to be a little bit less than someone with 15 years experience. So I think that's the kind of information that we're looking for, at least as a preliminary to our thought process.
And Julianne, go ahead.
Thank you. I got my raise hand button now. I'm all excited to use it. Certainly. And then another option that the commission could have is we could get the hourly rate information and the information under the bid and come back and bring it back for approval with the budget discussion at that time. So I could take the contract term and the amount off of the contract and just do it as a request for information, what their rates would be, and gain the information that we need. That would also assist the commission in making those budget determinations as an option.
I think I like that option, to have it more open, but that's just my thought. So, Doug.
Yeah, since it's a drawdown type of contract, yeah, I don't know if the hourly rates are as significant to our discussion on the budget money, because we know we're going to be right around the $49,000 over the two fiscal years. That's going to be a matter of choice of who Julianne thinks is the best group to deal with at that point. But it's going to be the same dollar amount coming out of the budget, which is going to approach that $49,000. So it's just a matter of how we want to do that. And I fully support waiting until and having the discussion next week. That's fine. I yield back.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, so it seems like we are in favor of tabling tabling this part of the discussion, do we need Julianne to clarify what she and Sue are bringing to our attention for next meeting? Like what actually we're going to be discussing regarding the legal staffing agency resolution or discussion? Just making sure we all understand what the postponed discussion is going to be. Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
My understanding, unfortunately, I'll check the websites for rates and,
Okay.
and certainly if there are agencies with rates available that I will present that, as well as additional preliminary information about examples of projects or things of that nature to be responsive to Commissioner Lett's inquiry. And that the commission would be expecting, that would be the information, the preliminary information from my end, as I understand it.
Okay.
And I will bring back a budget and we'll look for ways that we can build this into the budget then.
Okay. All right. Let me see.
And Madam Chair,
yes,
I did want to note when we internally as staff talked about setting aside a portion of the budget for legal needs, that the executive director did offer to amend the budget at that time, but there were no other amendments forthcoming. So we thought we would hold off. So it was, the reason it's not in the budget is because when it was suggested, I thought without having a need for resources at that time, to bring that independent change up would be unnecessary. So I appreciate the additional week to get the information needed.
Okay. I'm glad that we're doing it this way, honestly. Are there any other updates? Doug, do you have another question?
To Julianne, what's your thoughts, Julianne, on changing the contract term date to mirror what we've asked of the Supreme Court?
I'm not opposed to that. And again, the contract term date can also be impacted, or the use of this particular contract may also be impacted by the firm that is retained for litigation counsel. What their rates are or what their scope of service is. So again, but I'm not opposed to the January 3rd, 31st contract end date.
Let me ask you a question about the litigation counsel. Is there an additional attorney that we're going to, or attorney firm that we're going to have to bring on board that's not in the budget now?
Well, that would be, as I understand it, reflected in the next fiscal year's budget. And yes, that would be the litigation counsel for to have retained prior to any of the legal challenges being filed or other matters.
Okay, it's not somebody we would use during the process of doing the maps, but utilize them should we get confronted with legal action.
That's correct. It would be for the legal challenges.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Julianne, did you have any other updates for us?
I did, Madam Chair. Thank you. My other updates. My other update, I believe I would like to share my screen.
We welcome you to share your screen.
Thank you. I have two items to provide updates on. One is the apportionment data, and the other is the ADA question that was raised. So going to the apportionment data, just a recap, the census data releases expected are the apportionment data, which is the population counts for apportionment of the US House seats. The data was expected by April 30th, and I would like to acknowledge that the Census Bureau did in fact release it on April 26th, which is early. I know they're having quite a bit of criticism about the census delays. So I just wanted to note that they did release it early. The redistricting data, the PL 94-171 data, is the detailed redistricting counts for state legislative redistricting, which provides additional detail on where people live and their key demographic characteristics. We're expecting the legacy format on August 16th and the PL 94 data expected by September 30th. Those dates have not changed. So I just wanted to provide that background again on there's two sets of data that come into play for redistricting. So the apportionment, the Constitution requires that districts are redrawn every decade following the census to ensure equal populations between the districts. There's a total of 435 seats in the US House of Representatives. All states are guaranteed one seat, excuse me. The remaining 385 seats are distributed proportionally based on the population of each state. And again, under the US Constitution, each state has 2 senators. So while the apportionment data impacts your congressional representation, it also impacts and translates into either an increase or a decrease in your electoral college votes, which is the number of your congressional districts plus 2 senators. So Michigan currently has 16 electoral college votes. We will be dropping to 15. I'm getting ahead of myself though here. The nationwide data for the United States, a total population of 331 million, representing a 7.4% increase since the 2010 census. I wanted to note that Utah had the largest population growth over the decade of 18.4%, and West Virginia had the largest or the most significant population loss at 3.25%. The 7 states that lost a congressional district, I know Director Woods noted earlier in a presentation that we are one of them, joined by California, Illinois, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. So predominantly Midwestern states. In that 6 states gained 1 seat, 5 states gained 1 seat, Colorado, Florida, Montana, North Carolina, and Oregon, and Texas gained 2. Going on to the Michigan data, we now have a total resident population of just over 10 million. It's the largest recorded since the 1910 census was taken and represents a growth of 2% since the last census. It is an addition of almost 200,000 residents. And while that does represent a population increase, it was not significant enough for us to retain our congressional seat. The overall apportionment population is again, just over 10 million. That would include individuals living or stationed overseas. And this data will translate into approximately 775,000 people per new congressional district. Again, we'll have 13 congressional districts based on the apportionment data released. The highest was after the 1970 census at 19 seats. And that would be the summary of my data, or not my data, I apologize, it's the census data as delivered on Monday. So that concludes my update on the census apportionment. The second topic that I would like to cover is the whether the ADA requires accommodation of physically disabled individuals to the front of the line for public comment. The Americans with Disabilities Act is a civil rights law that was enacted in 1990. It prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in all areas of public life, including jobs, school, transportation, and at all public and private places open to the general public. Equal treatment is the fundamental purpose of the ADA, and people with disabilities must not be treated in a different or inferior manner. So the purpose of the law is to make sure that people with disabilities have the same rights and opportunities as everyone else. If a policy, practice, or procedure designed or adopted by a public entity which seems neutral makes it difficult or impossible for a person with a disability to participate, the ADA does require reasonable modification of those policies and procedures to enable participation. So examples of that would be if a city or county ordinance prohibited motorized devices on public sidewalks, that would need to be modified in the ordinance for people with disabilities who use motorized mobility devices that can be used on sidewalks. or if a person who is using crutches that would have difficulty waiting in a long line, the ADA does not require that person to be moved to the front of the line, but the accommodation would be provision of a chair and note the place in line so their place wouldn't be lost. So the ADA does not require that a person be moved to the front of the line. And I would note that while it's not a requirement, it would be permissible, but there would be potential difficulty in implementing this in a fair and consistent manner at the meeting. So that would be my report on the ADA subject, is that it is not required to grant people with physical disabilities first place in line. And I would also note the public hearings will have reserved seating for physically handicapped individuals, including those in wheelchairs, and that there'll be reserved seating by the translators for the individuals who are in need of that service as well. And I can respond to any questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So any questions or discussion for Julianne? Doug?
Going back to the data, Julianne, just a couple points of interest of things that I read in the paper. And I'm sorry, not the paper, but online. NPR is where I read it. And it indicated that the Alabama lawsuit, should that go the wrong direction, the Census Bureau says it's going to be delayed another time, and probably significantly, a couple months. And I don't have the details on what direction or whatever, but that was relative to the Alabama lawsuit. And the other thing that I had read somewhere, and I don't know where to quote it from, but they said that the state of New York, who lost a congressional district like us, had they had 89 votes go the other way, or 89 more people counted in the census, they would not have lost their congressional seat. So I thought that was pretty interesting to know. And I would guess they're going to bring that up for a challenge somehow. That may be in the cards as well. So just thought I'd bring those things up for people's knowledge.
Thank you, Doug. Julianne?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Clark. Those are excellent observations. And the relative to the Alabama lawsuit, that is litigation that I'm currently monitoring, that has been moved to a 3-judge panel, and the lawsuit is proceeding. There's about 16 states, I think, that have joined in that lawsuit. And so that is continuing to be monitored, and the effects, if that lawsuit is successful and in regard to differential privacy, are not known, but I think that the anticipated effects on the release date of the census is the clear possibility that it would be delayed again. In New York, 83 individuals, yes, I would think that they might be challenging that. And I know Michigan, we were about 200,000 off for not retaining our seat. So thank you for raising those.
Anything else for Julianne before we let her kind of fade away for her updates? Okay, let's jump down to the end, to this beautiful time. Future meetings and agenda items. And I will give the floor to Sue.
Thank you, Commissioner Kellum. So for the next meeting on unfinished business, we will have the legal staffing agency discussion continue. We will have budget for you to look at, and hopefully in collaboration, we can figure out the best path to follow on that. I would ask of you, what else do you want to know or discuss prior to public hearings? In some respects, the May 6th is kind of a bonus meeting. We didn't know if we could hold it virtually or not. And since we can, we have this meeting. So I want to make sure that we address anything else you want to know before we get to the public hearings.
Cynthia.
I'm just kind of wondering if our 1 hour Thursday meeting before our public hearings is going to be sufficient for whatever it is we need to discuss. If we should have a discussion about that or if we're fine with it.
Well, I would agree with you. It could be challenging. I think what will happen is staff pretty much has a plan of what needs to be discussed. And if we see a situation where it's going to take a 2-hour meeting, we can always amend a meeting notice. If we see a meeting that isn't needed, if we don't have any business to conduct, a meeting can be canceled with notice. So again, we'll be watching it very closely. Our goal is not to put forth a lot of business during the public hearings because we know that your focus needs to be solely on public hearings and we need to be aware and listening right alongside you.
Thank you, Sue. Anyone else have something? MC, go ahead.
I'm wondering, I don't want to get too far ahead of us, but after these 2 months of, starting in July when we have our deliberations, I'm wondering if the staff can give us sort of a sketch. I know we're anticipating meeting 6 days a week, but I'm just having a hard time understanding how that might look. And so I would, as much a sketch as possible of like how we are as a commission, right, going to deal with all the input that we're having, right? I think I'm really asking of this because my employer, right, and just trying to understand my time commitments and how much time I'm going to need between meetings. And if we're meeting 6 days a week, feels like I won't. Yeah. So I'm just asking again. I don't want to get too far ahead because it may be too hard to predict. But if there's a way to look at that July through September, July through August, whatever that time period is, give a sketch that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, MC. I'm sure that would be helpful for a number of us. So thank you for raising that.
Okay, and basically just remember that between July 1st, it will take between July 1st and August 16th to even get the legacy data. So while there could be some mapping with the existing other data, we're not going to get census data till August 16th. And then it will take 7 to 10 days probably for that to be tabulated because it's like a raw data form. So I don't really anticipate, our meetings getting so frequent until probably when we get into September.
That's helpful right there, Sue Ann. Thank you very much.
Anything else for Sue Ann? Sue Ann, anything else for future meetings and agenda items otherwise?
We have a few things on our radar, so we'll just keep plugging away and bringing things forth to the commission. And thank you for your many pages of reading and all the work you do to prepare for the meetings, because the public may see you showing up for a few hours and think, boy, that's a really cushy job. All they do is show up a few hours a week and then they go home and show up the next week. And that's definitely not true. We're pushing out a lot of information in between. You're reading, you're studying, you're reviewing things prior to meetings. So thank you for all your work and your commitment to the process.
Thank you, Sue, for that reinforcement. That feels good to hear. Any announcements for the good of the order? All right. Julianne.
Just very briefly, there was a request for information regarding the prison gerrymandering. So that's another item that I'm working on, just for the benefit of the commission and the public to know.
Thank you. We appreciate that. There's nothing else for the good of the order. I would like to have a motion to adjourn today's meeting. Rhonda made the motion. Can I have a second? Dustin, I think it was the second. Sorry, it cut out. Okay. All those in favor of adjourning signify with a raised hand or wave. All those opposed? All right, meeting is adjourned at 11:21. I'll see everyone next week. Have a beautiful weekend and be safe and be well.